Today on Rewind, a closer look. We're diving into a subscriber request. This one comes from @Beau the Lizzo, and it takes us straight into late 90s action weirdness. We're talking about G2 from 1999, starring Daniel Bernhardt. Yeah, the guy from Future War. And this is one of those movies that thinks it's telling a deep, epic story, but you're never quite sure if it actually is. It's got ancient legends, secret organizations, underground fights, and a whole lot of something bigger is going on here energy. But the way it all comes together, that's where things start getting interesting. So is this a hidden gem trying to do something ambitious, or a wildly overcomplicated movie that gets lost in its own ideas? Let's find out. The movie opens with a narration about a legendary sword from 2,000 years ago, belonging to Alexander the Great, blessed by some Greek god. Apparently, the sword vanished during the conquest of Persia, and mortals who discover its power search for it throughout time. Okay, but if it vanished, how are people discovering its power? Already off to a strong start. Daniel Bernhardt is playing Steve.
I am Steve.
Rocking long hair and an outfit that makes him look like the lead singer of a metal band. But out of nowhere, a group of warriors on horseback just kind of materialize, and leading them, it's James Hong. Because of course it is.
She is cruel. Laughs at you when you are naked. But you keep coming back for more and more. Why? Because she is the only prostitute I can afford.
Hong starts yelling about how the sword is his. Someone off screen yells, "Avenge me," and Steve immediately jumps on a horse, rides into the middle of the field, and pulls the magic sword, just straight out of the ground. Why is it there? No idea. Who are we avenging? Also no idea. Does any of that matter? You guessed it. No idea. Steve starts fighting off Hong's warriors, but the movie keeps cutting back and forth between this battle and Steve lying unconscious in a medical lab hooked up to machines. We also get flashes of a mysterious woman with her face covered, and so you can only see her eyes. Just in case things weren't confusing enough already, eventually the warriors overwhelm Steve and kill him, and instead of, being dead, he wakes up in the lab, covered in sensors. Later on, the doctor's discharging Steve, saying she can't find anything wrong with him, and is referring him to a psychiatrist. He's not happy about that. Establishing shots show us we're in Chicago at a monk martial arts dojo. The camera moves through all the monks doing their things and lands on Steve, wearing an outfit that looks like it came straight out of Steven Seagal's closet.
Your words deeply hurt me.
He waves his hands around for a bit, then kneels in front of a statue that kind of just comes to life. He calls it Master and says he can't find inner peace. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees death. The Master just tells him it's a repeating cycle of sorrow. Great help that was. And then, for reasons only known to the director, we cut to Steve in the shower, which fades into a establishing shot of Hong Kong. Why do we need a shower scene? No idea. We could have just gone straight from the Sorrow speech to Hong Kong, but nope, shower. We're off to a great start. In a shady back alley steam room, where a deal is going down for the magic sword, $2 million. Outside in the rain, two guys walk up, stylishly toss their umbrellas, and pull out guns. Inside, a woman walks in carrying towels, pulls a gun out of them, shoots the seller in the head, takes the money, and runs. Then everything completely goes off the rails. Gunfire everywhere, more guys running in. I have no idea who's on whose side. Two guys start just spinning swords, somehow blocking bullets and apparently physics at the same time. The umbrella guys join in, and as more people pile into the room shooting, the buyer grabs the sword and just starts slicing heads off. And after all that chaos, Hong just casually walks in with the woman who stole the money. He gets handed the sword, and the thief lady starts taking pictures of all the dead bodies. Why? Yeah, I don't know. I'm sensing a theme here. Hong and his crew head to an underground sword fighting club. He bets his $2 million against the club's best fighter and starts rambling about how this place is sacred, how he once a long time ago saw a single man take down a small army there. Don't you mean like 4 guys? Nice try. He says he's been waiting 2,000 years to kill that man, and now that he has the sword, it's finally time. The fighter comes out looking like Sinbad. The fight starts and it doesn't last long. The guy hits the floor, and so does his head. Hong is laughing the entire time, and just in case you don't get it, the movie flashes back to the opening again to really drive it home. Hong is looking for Steve, and he wants him dead. Later that night, Steve gets home, and he lives in what looks like a junk shop, maybe? Hard to tell. He checks his answering machine, only one message, from his shrink, of course. He grabs some coffee, sits down at his desk, and starts sketching out his dreams. The sword, the girl, all the stuff he's been seeing. Next day, Hong and his crew are now in Chicago looking for Steve. Apparently, Hong can just feel his presence. Sure, it's supposed to be Chicago, and the building in the background, well, that's Canada Trust Tower in Toronto. So yeah, we're not even trying anymore. Hong says Steve will start to remember now that he's here with the sword, and at this point, it's pretty clear. This movie's basically a discount Highlander ripoff.
Highlander, there can be only one.
And here we are, with the princes of the universe.
They get into a car, and the thief lady hands Hong a forged police ID. We cut to a guy running through a parking lot being chased by cops. The squad cars slide in front of him and... Wait, why did they say New York Police Department? I thought we were in Toronto pretending to be Chicago. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
The cops search the guy and they find a gun and a throwing star. Of course they do. Back at the station, the cops are looking at that throwing star. The woman cop is shocked that people still fight to death for money, and the guy tells her that the circles on the star are a calling card for swordplay. Yeah, sure, okay. The chief calls her over, and Hong is just sitting there with him. He introduces Hong as a detective from Hong Kong. I did not mean for that to sound like that. So I guess that's what the fake ID was for. Hong says he's there to recover the sword and take it back to China. But wait, doesn't he already have the magic sword? Harris shows him the throwing star, and he's like, yeah, that's a trophy for swordplay. Says he's looking forward to working with him and wants any info she finds out about the sword. And then Harris just leaves. Harris goes over to Steve's place, and what do you know? He's a sword maker, because of course he is. She just stands there watching him, and when Steve notices her, he immediately starts having flashbacks again. He thinks she's the woman with the face coverings from his visions. Harris walks over and says she's heard he's an expert on Chinese antiquities, then hands him the throwing star trophy thing. Didn't Hong already tell you what that was? Steve looks at the symbol and has another flashback. It's the same symbol as the one on the magic sword. He tells her it's a Greek symbol, and she's like, aren't throwing stars Asian? And at this point, all the locations getting thrown around. My head is starting to spin. Steve tells her he's busy, and just leave the star with him and he'll do something with it. She gives him her card so he can call her when he's done. These two are 100% sleeping together at some point. Later that night, Hong is at dinner with his crew, at the most staged for filming tables I've ever seen. He gets a call. It's Officer Harris. She tells him the next swordplay is happening at a restaurant tonight. And when did she figure that out? Oh, right. It's the throwing star guy they caught earlier. He gave up the location. Our cop duo pull up to the restaurant, cuff the ninja star guy to the steering wheel, and head inside with guns drawn. The place is dark, quiet, empty, and Harris immediately gets stealth takedown. Cop guy notices she's gone, finds her earpiece on the floor, and starts searching. Meanwhile, Harris is pinned against a wall with a knife to her throat. Cop guy gets jumped by one of Hong's goons, and when he opens fire, the guy just starts spinning the swords, blocking everything. Guy cop gets backed up against the wall, and the guns get knocked out of his hands. And just when he's about to die, we cut away to Harris, somehow pulling a knife and escaping. When we come back to Cop Guy, who has somehow escaped the spinning sword situation, Harris grabs him and they just run. They don't make it far though, before it turns into chairs versus swords. It's a good thing there's lots of chairs. Harris just decides she's done, runs off, leaving Cop Guy there to get beat up. She frantically runs through the kitchen, throwing objects behind her. It does nothing. She gets trapped in a hallway and the goon charges her. She finally just shoots him dead. So why didn't he spin the swords this time? Not enough room in the hallway, maybe? Cop guy is now crawling across the floor, bloody, reaching for a gun. The goon breaks his arm and is about to finish him off when Harris finally comes back in and tells him to freeze. Steve shows up at the restaurant.
Steve!
For reasons unknown. He walks in, sees one of Hong's dying goons on the floor, and flashes back to killing him 2,000 years ago. He grabs the dying guy's sword and heads into the dining room. Harris is protecting cop guy, but she's out of bullets and just keeps dry firing the gun. Just as the goon raises his sword, Steve walks in. He helps them escape and starts fighting the goon. It doesn't last long. The goon literally says not here, not now, because yeah, we still got an hour left in this movie. Police sirens roll in, the dead goon just turns into a blue mist orb thing and disappears. The captain shows up and asks what's going on. When Harris tries to explain what happened, but all the bodies are gone, the captain just shuts it down and just tells her to put it in a report. And then everyone just kind of walks away. Turns out there was a swordplay that night, just at a different location. Hong and all his goons are there. Steve rolls up in his Jeep. How does he keep knowing where to go? No idea. Inside, he just lurks in the shadows watching the match, having flashbacks the entire time. They get so intense, and when he gets stabbed in the flashback, he reacts in real life. He bails, leaves in his Jeep, and now he's hearing Hong's voice in his head saying he's going to kill him. He makes it back home, basically dying over and over in his mind. He's sitting in a chair in pain when Hong and the thief lady just casually walk in. Hong bends down, tells Steve he's the chosen one, and starts asking if he remembers him. Then, next morning, they're on the rooftop, in Toronto again. Steve asks why he's there and where he came from. Hong says his true self will emerge soon, but he first has to test himself. And I gotta stop you here. If you're trying to pass Toronto off as Chicago, you cannot be showing Canadian flags and the Royal York Hotel in the background. Like, come on.
I am Canadian!
Anyway, Hong basically invites him to the next swordplay and says he needs to fight and see blood to remember who he is. That night, Steve heads to the swordplay, where we immediately see two guys fighting without swords. Kind of a false advertising there. Hong and his crew show up. Steve's just sitting in a chair holding a gun. Again, not a sword. And the current fight ends with the pirate-looking guy
But I don't want to be a pirate!
snapping his opponent's neck. Still not swordplay, but whatever. Hong bets $500K on the next fight, and the thief lady brings out the magic sword. The head goon gets it. The gong hits, the fight starts, and Steve finally gets up to watch. He sees the final kill, and the thief lady pulls him aside to meet Hong. Hong shows him the magic sword, asks if he looks familiar, and then calls him Macedonian. Says he wants history to repeat itself, so Steve needs to remember, and to do that, he has to fight. They show him his opponent and force him into the match. The fight starts, and again, barely any swordplay. Only Steve has a sword. The other guy has fire breath, okay, and a mace. Steve gets cut, his sword gets tangled in the chain, and the guy spits fire and lights Steve's feet on fire. And now Steve's kicking him with flaming feet. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. Steve grabs him by the neck and tells Hong to give him the sword. Hong says, not yet, and the thief lady just shoots the opponent. He bursts into flames and drops. The goon holds up the magic sword, and Steve flashes back again, this time fighting that same goon. Back in the present, he's reliving, dying over and over. He collapses into another chair. Steve is in so much pain, he just calls out for his master, and the ghost master guy just appears again, talking about birth, death, and sorrow. Steve asks if fighting for the sword means it dies, or I die. I couldn't make it out. If it is the sword, I guess he means himself, but why does he want to die? Ugh, moving on. Steve gets snapped out of it by Harris banging on the door. He opens it and lets her inside. She asks where he went after the restaurant, then grabs his gun off the counter and asks him what's it for. Protection, he says. She checks it, says it's a cop gun, and Steve casually drops that he used to be a cop, because of course he was. Harris notices his wound, offers to help, and then we cut to her walking around his place while he cleans it himself. She grabs the gun again, walks back over to Steve.
Steve!
Asks if he's killed anyone. He says no. She's like, great, good enough for me, and hands the gun back. She starts questioning him about the sword. Apparently she did her own research. She threatens to arrest him for withholding info, so he talks. Says he's seen the sword. It's in the city. And now suddenly the sword is a godly gift of the king of Macedonia before Christ, which is not what the intro told us at all.
Mighty sword of Alexander the Great, blessed by the Greek god Apollo.
Harris says she just wants the killers and wants his help. Steve says he's been dreaming about the sword his whole life. It used to be good dreams, but now they're nightmares. But being this close to it gives him hope. He has to end it. Harris just goes, okay, I'll make coffee. Steve goes to his bedroom for no apparent reason. The phone rings, and Harris, being the nosy cop she is, picks up to eavesdrop. It's the thief lady, giving Steve the location of the next sword play and reminding him not to forget his sword. Yeah, because I'm going to an event called Swordplay, and I'm gonna forget my sword. That's like going golfing and forgetting your clubs. After Steve hangs up, he tells Harris he'll help her. The cops raid the location of the next swordplay, but nobody's there. All they find is one dead body hanging from some chains. The chief is like, we raided this for one body. So obviously, the guy who tipped them off must be involved, and they arrest Steve. The cops just love dragging this guy to active crime scenes for no reason. They did that exact same thing in Future War.
Joey, where are you, man? Yeah, I shouldn't let him go in by himself.
Back at the station, Steve's hooked up to a lie detector. They question him, and he starts talking about his dreams. The horses, the warriors, the sword, and the princess. I'm guessing that's the masked woman? The chief is like, yeah, this guy's nuts. Steve keeps going, saying that the same guy, Parmesan or Palmerinian, no, Parmenon, that's his name, and the same sword from his dreams are in the city. Harris then gets word that the Hong Kong police have no record of Hong. The chief wants to lock Steve up, but Harris says he'll lead them straight to Hong if they let him go, so he agrees. That evening, Harris and Steve are out eating at the most fake-looking restaurant ever. They finish up, read their fortune cookies, which absolutely mean nothing, and I'm just thinking, with all this weird magic stuff going on, shouldn't those fortunes actually matter? But nope. They leave, and Cop Guy is outside waiting in a car to follow them. They pull up to Steve's place. He tries to invite her up. She just shuts that down immediately. Nice try. Then she goes, oh yeah, I almost forgot. You're deputized. Did you clear that with the chief? Steve's just like, cool, I'm a cop again, and heads inside. Upstairs, he goes straight to his sword wall, grabs one of them, and starts swinging it around in the dark for a while. He's so into it, he doesn't even notice Hong and the thief lady walk in behind him. Hong tells him his swords are in his blood, he just needs the right one. Thief lady adds, and this time, no cops. And they all just leave together for another round of swordplay. They arrive at the fight. A match is already going on. Harris sneaks in through the door, finds a hiding spot, and watches. The fight ends with the guy getting his throat slit. They clear the body, start taking bets, and outside, Guy Cop shows up and just beats his way in. No sneaking in this time. Hong's goon walks in and pulls out the magic sword and shows it to Steve.
Steve?
Steve just asks if he can have it. Don't know unless you ask, I guess. Hong says fight for it. Steve takes off his jacket, steps into the ring, ready to fight this guy with the magic sword. But another goon walks out. Gotcha. He has to beat this guy first. And this guy? Nunchucks. Why is this called swordplay? They start fighting, and yeah, Steve's in blue jeans. Not exactly what I'd wear if I knew I was about to fight to my death, but what do I know? I'm not a 2,000-year-old reincarnated warrior. They go at it for a while. Steve lands some solid kicks, knocks one of the nunchucks away, and keeps fighting. Then he gets cut, and here come the flashbacks again. This time we find out it was Hong who yelled, "Avenge me." Why? No idea. The fight keeps going. Steve drops his sword, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
He just uses his fists, beats the guy down, picks him up and throws him, and stumbles over to grab his sword again to finish it. Hong interrupts, says it was Steve's destiny to find the sword, but it's his destiny to kill Steve. Over and over again throughout time. Then he yells,
Avenge me! Avenge me!
At this point, I don't think he knows what that means.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Steve starts flashing back so hard he can't even see. He's just spinning around while the goons circle him until Harris calls out that he's behind him, and Steve finally lands the kill. The guy drops, evaporates into the blue fog orb thing.
You haven't auditioned yet?
Oh, no, I'm not in the group yet. No, I'm afraid I just blew myself.
There's got to be a better way to say that.
Everyone in the room is upset, and they all just start leaving. Outside, Harris meets up with Steve and tells him he could have been killed, but isn't that the whole point of swordplay? She offers him a ride home. Cop guy confronts Hong and the thief lady with his gun drawn. He flips Hong a pair of cuffs like he's actually going to arrest him, and then the goon walks up behind him and takes his head off. Hardly any fight, hardly any struggle. R.I.P. cop guy. We never did learn your name.
In the arms of the angel.
Harris and Steve get back to his place and find the front door open. Steve asks for a gun, which she just hands over. They climb up the fire escape and go in through the window. They creep around, but nobody's there. Instead, they find flowers and a love note from the thief lady. Harris immediately gets jealous and goes to storm out.
I think I should leave.
But Steve tells her the thief lady's just messing with him and asks her to stay. She does, helps him patch up from the swordplay, and then he just drops it on her. He thinks she's the woman from his dreams. And yeah, that goes exactly where you think it does. We got a full-on romance scene, cutting back and forth between present day and 2,000 years ago, both versions of them together, confirming they're basically soulmates who have been doing this over and over again throughout time. She's even talking like Hong now with the whole cycle repeating thing. After that, Steve just sneaks out and goes to his dojo to ask his master for advice. Even though he could have just summoned the guy at home. He just had to get out of there before Harris woke up. Back at the apartment, Harris wakes up alone, pours some coffee, and spots Steve's sketchbook. And of course, nosy cop mode kicks in. She goes through all his drawings and his notes and basically figures everything out. So when Steve comes back, she just straight up tells him, "This is you. You're reincarnated." Just like that, and he agrees. She says it's her fault. She led him to this sword and Hong to him. Steve brushes it off, says it's all part of the cycle. He has to fight, and if he doesn't, he just dies anyway. Harris, still stuck on the flowers, brings up the thief lady again.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Jealous much? Steve says he's got a 2,000-year-old order from Alexander the Great. He has to fight. He's a warrior. Harris fires back. She's got her own orders and storms out. Swordplay time. Hong drops a $4 million bet this time, on or against Steve. I don't know. It's hard to tell. While two gladiator-looking guys fight. Steve's off to the side, waving his hands around again, before remembering, all right, this is swordplay, and he pulls out his sword. The match starts. Steve steps in, and this time, his opponent actually has the magic sword. They fight for a bit, and then Hong tells the thief lady to go let the horses out. Well, I didn't even know they were in a stable, but sure. Steve swings hard, and his sword gets cut clean in half. The horses stampede through the arena, chaos everywhere, and of course, the horses trigger more flashbacks. He drops to his knees, completely overwhelmed, while Hong jumps into the ring, just dancing around, taunting him. The goon winds up for the killing blow, and Steve just snaps out of it. He rolls out of the way, comes back in with a jump kick and a series of punches, and drops the guy. The magic sword hits the ground. Steve picks it up, holds it up just staring at it, and the cops show up. Sirens blaring, the crowd scatters, and Steve just stands there, holding the sword like he's in a completely different movie. After a moment, the thief lady walks up, puts a gun to his chest, then under his chin, tells him the sword isn't his, takes it and hands it back to the head goon. On the way out, they run into the guy Steve just fought and kill him for being a loser. He vanishes into that blue orb energy thing again, and they leave. They head to another building and take an elevator up. Harris has been following them and is snooping around when the elevator doors open and the thief lady is standing there, and they fight. It's over almost immediately. Harris never stood a chance. Upstairs, the head goon is just waving the magic sword around while Hong watches. Harris wakes up on the floor, and Hong starts explaining that she's reincarnated too, just like Steve. So now everyone's reincarnated. They call Steve and tell him to meet them, or Harris dies. And once again, remind him, don't forget your sword, because apparently that's a real concern. Steve then spends the next while forging a brand new sword, just makes his own version of the magic sword like it's no big deal, and he does it fast too. This guy would absolutely dominate on Forged in Fire.
It will kill.
Steve
Steve?
shows up to the final meetup. The thief lady greets him, flirts a bit, then walks him over to Hong. She pulls a gun and marches Harris upstairs. Hong and Steve talk about revenge and destiny for a bit. Then Hong summons that blue orb thing again. Steve kneels down, looks like he's praying to the sword or something. Hong yells, "Avenge me!"
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
And then the head goon steps out with the magic sword. Final sword play. And of course, Steve immediately starts flashing back again. He tells Hong he never actually died, that Hong planted those visions in his head. The fight continues, and the goon gets the upper hand. And now everything is repeating again. Same cycle, same fight, same setup. Meanwhile, up on the catwalk, Harris and the thief lady are fighting. Eventually, Harris throws her over the railing, and she lands on some spikes and disappears into that blue orb thing. Back to Steve.
Steve!
Who's now just wandering around in the dark trying to find the goon again. They keep losing each other somehow, even though they're in the same room. I get it, it's dark, but come on. They find each other, keep fighting, and make their way over to near Hong. Steve starts yelling at him to stop, and Hong suddenly transforms into his 2,000-year-old self. And now we learn Harris is his reincarnated daughter. Sure, why not? Hong says the sword belongs to his people. Steve says no, it belongs to his people, and the goon and Steve keep fighting. Steve drops his sword, and they both now struggle for the magic one. Hong tries to help by throwing a knife at Steve.
Steve?
But Steve pulls the ultimate reverse card and spins the goon into the path of the knife. As the goon is dying, he leans over the railing and just drops the sword, which just falls straight down and impales Hong. Just like that, both of them disappear into the blue light. That's it. That's the Hong's ending. Steve walks down, meets up with Harris, they hug, and then he goes over to where the sword landed. And now, stuck in stone, full Excalibur style, he pulls it out.
He took it out.
He points at the glowing light, says, "For you, my king," and then just throws it in. The sword disappears, Harris walks over, and they make out. Roll credits. And wow, so that's G2. This is a blatant attempt at a Highlander knockoff. The story is extremely convoluted, and the lore around the sword seems to change every single time it's brought up. Every time they're about to finally fight for it, the movie just goes, nope, not now, later. No reason, just later. The whole movie is also filmed way too dark, and I don't mean tonally, I mean visually. Half the time you can barely see what's going on. Also, I need to ask though, the movie's title, G2? What does that have to do with anything? I didn't see or hear a single reason for that to be the title. Weird. Harris is a terrible cop. She panics. She can't keep track of how many shots she's fired. She dry fires her gun. She deputizes Steve for no reason. But there's some good stuff here. The movie definitely has a style, which already puts it above a lot of these types of movies. You can tell there was some actual effort put into it. The sword fights are cool. I just can't help but think how much better they could have been with actors who were actual sword fighters. And the costumes, those were great. All the fighters looked unique, had their own styles, and really stood out. Way better than the Seagal-style wardrobe Steve was rocking.
I'm going to try not to be insulted, man.
But man, Hong's death was so anticlimactic. No final showdown, no one-liner. He just gets impaled by a falling sword and disappears. Done. And you can really feel it. The writers clearly thought this plot was way smarter than it actually is. But at the end of the day, there's really only one question that matters. Did I have fun watching it? Hell yeah, I did. If you enjoyed this one, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into weird forgotten movies like this. And great pick at Beau the Lazo, and I'll catch ya in the next episode.
Hold up. Hey.
Nothing but a cheap American broad.